After Hours.
On this episode of the History of the Chords After Hours podcast, we discuss the black metal band known as Abigail Williams. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurviveByPro for news and latest episode postings. And make sure to subscribe to the show. Leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using. And if you'd like to see us do some live streams, leave us a comment or tweet us the keyword stream. Now, without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta. Army surrounded.
Welcome back to the History of the Chords After Hours podcast, where each and every episode I, Curtis, sit down with my good friend and avid listener of the History of the Chords podcast, Erik. How's it going, Erik?
Well, to quote Galileo, thunderbolt and lightning, very, very frightening.
And a lot of sleepless nights. Gosh.
Yes. Living in the Midwest, that's what we get.
Yeah. Not in November, though. I mean, geez.
Not usually November.
It's not supposed to be happening now, man. This is supposed to be springtime stuff, but, you know, it's what it is, man. Live with the tornadoes, you die by the tornado. So, and you lose sleep by the tornado. That's my other thing, too. It's like, you couldn't, I mean, there's like 18, well, I don't know, 16 other hours of the day you could be doing this. No, you're going to do it during my 8 hours of sleep. Okay, gotcha.
Right in the middle.
Understand. Yeah. Stupid. All right, Erik. We're going to talk about the band Abigail Williams today. But before we do that, we've got a band that's, I mean, in a way, I guess you could say kind of sort of similar to Abigail Williams. Maybe, I don't know. They're in your spotlight today, Erik. So go ahead. Tell us who is in your spotlight today.
So this band is called Gray Wind. It's all one word for you. Gray Wind. Spelled with
now,
an
if
E.
you
silly Brits.
if you just heard the name, if you just had the name Abigail Williams and you knew about their music, but you just saw the name Gray Wind, would you think, oh, they might be in the same genre?
You might think.
But they're not.
You might be wrong.
Not even close.
Not even close. This is a lady-fronted pop punk emo, like modern emo kind of sound. They are from, it's a brother and sister, we'll get to that in a second, from Ireland. I didn't put down the name of the city. Yeah, it's a city in Ireland. Couldn't find out like a specific day that they started the band or even, year, but their Facebook started in 2014. And then their first full-length album was 2017. They're only full-length so far. And since then, we've got a bunch of singles, as per protocol, since the Rona. Yeah. And these siblings' names are Paul and Steph O'Sullivan. They're the only actual members listed on any socials or anything I found. And I went through just about all of them, trying to find any other pictures of anybody but these two, because I don't think these two are making all those sounds at the same time. Small thing about them. But anyway, I guess they just pick up some schlubs along the way to play for them. Hey, you, I like you. Play that bass thing. Oh, you drum on that. Yeah, do that.
Yeah, I was thinking more of like maybe he does a bunch of instruments. She might contribute some stuff too, but yeah, probably be more
what it lists,
maybe
what
session
I
or even just like live people.
I think it's session stuff. Yeah.
All
I could find that he's credited for is lead guitar or guitar in general, but that's all I could find as far as, and she's just credited for vocals. So they have a lot of story that they tell you on all their socials, which is good background information, how they got started, when they got started, that kind of thing. But it doesn't exactly tell me who and where. They just tell me the why. sometimes we're lacking the why, like with alt. Alt means everything. Oh, okay. So what do you do? Where are you from? What are you playing? Alt means everything. So I don't know. Let's get somewhere in between, guys. Talking to you, small bands. They are a rather tour crazy band back on Greywind here. Seems like they're all over the world, even currently. Right now, they are touring the U.S. with Action Adventure and Tiny Moving Parts.
Yeah, Tiny Moving Parts. They're a pretty good band.
I hadn't really heard much of them. I had actually, the smaller band, I'd heard of Action Adventure, but that's the world I live in. Little band, yeah. Big band, who?
Who?
What do you mean? Taylor Swift, what's that?
Yeah, geez.
Does she play the metal?
Careful, she might.
Oh, no, it's going to be Taylor Swift, so it's got to be like, mathcore, really fast metal, yeah. Anyway,
Oh, geez.
I digress.
Don't ruin it for me.
So,
Does that make Travis Kelce her groupie?
yes.
I said it.
That's right. He said it. And if anybody else has, eating a book going off in their head from He Is Legend right now, that's right. I said it. You're in the right place.
That is right. I said it. In a way, yeah.
But anyway, so far as like a good place to start, I kind of like the newer stuff, the EP from 2024. Glimmer is a good one to get started with off of that. It's, I think, on their most recent EP. Yeah, it's their most recent one. It's got this upbeat energy that really wouldn't be out of place like on a Hey Monday track, but definitely notably darker lyrics and themes that are deserving of their little emo tag that they get. And overall, I've been enjoying them. It's a little bit of we were talking before we started recording, it's a detox. Sometimes you got to get away from the black metal and the death metal and the metally metals.
And the metally of the metals. The metaliest
And
of
sometimes
metals.
you need a little pop punk emo to wash your soul in.
Yeah, I will say I've never listened to this band before until you brought them up this time around, coming into this episode. You and I have talked about this band before because you brought them up several times.
Yep.
But finally got to sit down and listen to some stuff, and I have no problem with them at all. Everything seems very, very good. Nothing. A lot stood out. I mean, in terms of like, it grabbed my attention. It wasn't just like, okay. I mean, I will say they've earned a follow from me on Spotify for sure.
Oh yeah.
So I'll be interested to see, like you said, they put out that full-length album in 2017, and then they've put out, a new EP here in this year. This last
They're
spring,
currently touring, so fingers crossed. I'm hoping for an album maybe next year.
That's what I was thinking.
Fingers
maybe.
crossed. I don't know yet. They're also coming through the Midwest soon, so I haven't decided yet if the stars align. I might try to go see them.
Who they on tour with right now?
That was Tiny Moving Parts and Action Adventure.
That's right. Okay. They November 19th. They'll be here. Okay. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
We'll see if the stars align. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Okay.
I got a lot of stuff going on that time of year.
I got stuff to do, man.
Adulting.
Oh, man.
I wished for it my whole life, and now I have it. Take it away.
Yeah, take it away. Take this away from me. Well, cool, man. Any final pleas or thoughts on the band Greywind?
If they're listening, I wish you guys would get some full-time band members. That helps. We're going to talk about that in this episode, I'm sure.
Oh, boy.
That helps solidify your sound. And that way it's not just you two kind of doing your thing. At least you do have another person, but if you get a couple guys, that'll solidify your sound, I think. And so you won't stray from the path, I think. But I would just like to see a couple of standard guys versus touring this guy, session that guy. That's just a little bit of my thing, though.
Okay.
But otherwise, they are a good couple, group, pair, siblings.
Duo, siblings.
So
Cool. Well, that is the band in Eric's Spotlight today. Grey Wind. Grey Wind with an E.
whoosh.
Silly Brits. Silly Brits. We spell gray with an E. Alrighty. Today we're talking about the band known as Abigail Williams. Not the lady, the band. Okay. No, there will be no crucible. Well, there might be some crucible talk here. I don't know. Who knows? There may be some mention of it. All right. Well, as always, Eric, I like to come in hot with two standard questions every episode. First off, how were you introduced to the band known as Abigail Williams?
It's a name that I've heard a lot, whether it be in musical circles, literary circles, historical circles.
Right.
But I've never actually listened to the music before.
Okay. So now you've listened to the whole discography.
Yep.
How are you going to describe the band? Not the character, not the lady, whatever. How are you going to describe the band Abigail Williams to a brand new listener?
Let's see. So if I go
where to begin?
Yeah. If I go with my normal thing, which is, the overarching themes of things, I'd say like black metal, death metal. Either way you look at it, it's got symphonic elements. And I do understand that black metal and death metal are different. I understand that. Roast me in the comments if you like. They started as two different things. But they have grown to overlap one another quite a bit. They both have your technical portions. They both have some speed, like, speed metal kind of weaves in there a little bit here and there too. Both of them have your keys for your ambiance, for the body, the sound of everything. Wall of sound, that's
so
good
it's
stuff.
so fancy when you said ambiance.
Ambiance. The difference to me in modernity, I'm using all the big words.
Oh boy. You've lost me.
Yes. Is the vocals, but his particular vocals kind of wave between the two. Because historically speaking, your black metal was more, rather than screamed, it was shrieked, I guess you could almost say.
Yeah.
It was a lot higher register. Versus death metal, you wanted to get as low as you could. The
like
lowest
growl.
lows, the gurgliest, gurgles and all that
the
good
gurgliest
stuff.
of gurgles.
And your what's that coffee grinder full of bones? Yeah, that's
oh man, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And then
Subhuman
up on the high
cries
end
of a gorilla.
of a large gorilla. Yeah,
A
that's your
large
death
gorilla.
metal type. And then, like I said, it's almost like shrieky on the black metal side of thing. And his vocals go on both, so it's hard for me to nail it down into one or other the category, unless we judge song by song, and even then, it's a little
Album by album, yeah.
squishy. Yeah,
Right. So, how much? Just looking at black metal, though, how much of a fan are you of that genre? Because that seems to be the one that's tied to Abigail Williams the most.
Right. Generally speaking, not the biggest fan. I do like kind of mids and lows a little bit better. If you splash in some high vocals, that's okay. But generally speaking, I don't go for that as a
Give me the
standard.
full
I like,
yeah,
I like the range. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like some of the bands that were peaking out, Job for a Cowboy was one of the first ones I ever heard do that. And they've got your mediums, their lows, your highs, your pig squeals, your guttural things that sound like they're coming from demons. And I'd never heard that coming from a human before. And that
it's because he was suspended by the throat.
Yes. Dun, da, 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 dun, da, da, da.
There you go. I got him. I got him.
But that's the breakdown. It always gets me.
Yeah. Cool.
So
Well, let's.
anyway,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I'm not the biggest fan, I guess. TLDR. Just I guess there's black
Simple
metal
answer.
guys and there's death metal guys. I lean towards the death metal. I'm not even the biggest fan of death metal as a whole,
Right.
but I like a little singing,
Took a
just
little
a
bit here
wee
and
bit.
there. Yeah. Cool. There's something about the singing in black metal, though. Sometimes it just seems a little. It's borderline like operatic, opera type.
It's got that vibrato. Yeah,
Yeah, that vibrato. And I don't know. It just kind of was like, to me.
yeah.
Eh. But just me. Let's talk a little about the name here. On the inception of the name of the band, bassist at the time, Thomas G. Pleghammer, would tell About.com, quote, "The accuser is always relevant in society. In America, there were the witch trials, the Red Scare, and now terrorism. Everyone is always quick to point a finger. We do it out of fear, prejudice, and because of things we don't understand. So the accuser will always be present in society. Abigail Williams really stuck out to us not only due to the above mention, but also because it possessed that iconic quality while still sounding very American. America. We want people to know where we are from. Yeah. And that I feel like that's when he said that, he was like, yeah. We want people to know where we are from and that even though it may not be cool slash trendy, we are proud of our American culture. Yeah. Josh also described the choice of the band name, saying, quote, "As far as black metal names go, amazing. But the fact that they're an American black metal band, this is the name without a doubt." So you've heard the bassist from the band, you've heard Josh. Give us your thoughts on the band name Abigail Williams.
I think it is pretty sick. As long as you remember your history or the story, it's pretty sick. And
Sick.
I like it. I like it. It's pretty good. I do want to make a counter band, something the opposite end of the spectrum as far as like a I don't even know, folk band or something like that, but call it Giles Corey. If you
Ooh.
know your history.
Yeah. By the way, I think if I remember correctly, I think that's already a band name.
No.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because I think, and it's kind of oh man, what did I do with that? Okay, yeah, okay. It's this guy. It's a guy by himself, and I remember discovering this album, and it's called Giles. The album's called Giles Corey too,
Wow.
and it's very
Hmm.
it's very strange music genre. Um, I'm trying to find something where I can. Oh man, that's funny too because like I'd forgotten all about that until you said that. I was like, oh yeah, forgot about this guy having that name. Let's see. Da, da, da.
Oh
Okay,
wow.
so
Got some
this and
listeners.
it goes right up your alley. What you're saying. So it says Giles no, is it Giles? Giles Corey, right?
I always heard it Giles.
Giles. Okay, Giles Corey was the first main solo project of Dan Barrett. Is interesting. It began as an outlet for country music, but was progressively and supplementarily inspired by folk music. Project took its name from Giles Corey, an English farmer accused of witchcraft during the Salem witch trials. Restrictions on witch. He
My
placed
man's got it figured out already.
self-imposed. Yeah, he placed self-imposed restrictions on which instruments would be featured. However, as the debut album, the self-titled Giles Corey from 2011 evolved, these constraints faded. The album draws on philosophy and the paranormal, something Barrett explored to theorize the experience of death during the depressive year. I remember reading something though where I can't remember if that's on the album cover. So the album cover Are you looking at it on Spotify?
I did see it there. Yeah.
No, maybe not that one. I've seen maybe it's not the album cover, but I've seen a picture, I thought, of like, and I can't remember what they call it, but it makes me think of like a burlap sack and like you put it over your head. And this is how weird it was, but like when he was writing that album, like he talked about like just like wearing that and just like cloaking his like vision all in like darkness and like seclusion. It was really weird. You might listen to that album sometime. There's like I said, there's just kind of like a weird sound to it. But that is funny that you brought that up though.
I just thought that. I was like, that's one of my
Sorry,
favorite
Eric.
characters from that story. But
Too late.
it sounds like my dude's got it figured out. So
He beat you to it about over a decade before you. It looks like he hadn't put anything
No.
out since like 2013 though. That's at least what his Bandcamp says. I don't know. Oh, okay. Here on Spotify, his profile picture. That's what I'm talking about.
yeah,
That
I
little like
seen it
rapping deal. Yes.
there. The
Yeah.
thing over
Okay.
his head.
Yes. Okay. I wonder if they
Kind of
they
wild.
must
looking.
have maybe they like re-released this album then because now this one's saying 2015
It does
for
say
the
15.
self-titled one. Yeah. Anyway. Interesting.
Low core.
Oh,
Blue
under the
core.
merch, that first one, it's Giles
that's
Corey
great.
tape. I thought it was a, I thought it was a light switch cover. That was weird. Anyway,
Oh, it does.
we have gotten way off target here. Okay, so yeah, Abigail Williams really connects with the roots, like they were talking about in the quote there from the basis, America, man. And I'm with Josh. It's like there just really feels like, besides maybe like Giles Corey, it's like I just can't think of any other one that would be like this is it. This has to be the one, man, to go with if you're gonna go this route, you know. So, alrighty, we'll talk about some band member changes.
Oi.
Yeah. So obviously, the band goes through numerous lineup changes throughout its existence, except for one person, the frontman Ken Sorceron Bergeron. Does it concern you at all when that revolving door is present in a band like Abigail Williams, all around one single person?
Yes. And it is with any band, honestly. When you don't have a solid wall to bounce things off of, ideas, sounds, hey, what about this riff? You know, you need a buddy to tell you, dude, that's trash. Put it in the can where it belongs. Get it out of here. I mean, because everybody's got one. You know, you think it's a
Right.
good one, but it's a stinker. Get it out of here. And you need a good band member to tell you that, rather than if you got nobody and you're just doing what you're doing. Yeah, it's going to get on the tape, and then you're going to be like, oh, why don't people like my music?
What the heck is this? Where did I just
Yeah.
record? This sounds like trash.
That being said, many bands have done it for better or worse. Usually they don't turn out as good as they would, as good as they could be, in my opinion. I mean, we get, let's see, I named a couple here. Memphis Mayfire, you got the Matty Mullins Show. Norma Jean, I don't think has done poorly with this, but it does concern me. You know, always
Yeah,
moving forward,
we
every
did.
album moving forward. Is it going to become the Corey Putnam experience?
Right.
I
Yeah,
don't
we
know.
did make mention of that.
And then the one that currently concerns me the most, because I've already written off Memphis, is Maylene and Sons of Disaster. Is it just the Dallas Taylor extravaganza?
Dallas,
kinda what the
it's
last-
like, yeah, they should rename themselves, just like we were talking about earlier, the Tony Danza tap dance extravaganza.
There we
It's
go.
the Dallas Taylor, whatever you were saying. That's
Extravaganza.
what the extravaganza. All right. What?
So, I feel like Norma Jean with Corey might be the exception, because most don't end up doing well when it's just circulating one dude in these kind of genres. I realize pop has been doing it for 100 years, but do you really think those guys are writing their own material?
Right. No, and that's what I was about to say. Think about like bands or artists or whatever that are like the top. Take a Taylor Swift. Do you really think she's
Right.
writing all her material by herself? No, she's not. So it's
Not for
very
the
hard
last,
to get to
15
that
years, I'm sure.
space. Right. Um, I think with, and me and Josh talked about this in the original episode. I think with a guy like Corey Putman and Norma Jean and even Josh Scoggin, that's more of like with the member changes around them, we worry of like, okay, like, is there something wrong with these guys? Like, what's going on behind closed doors that's
Right.
like causing like these members to be like, peace out, you know? Now, I will say too, like, they talk like some of these guys that they've been in bands with before still have good relationships with them. Maybe it's just a deal. It's like, we just can't really work together. So I don't know, man. But anyway.
Yeah, it happens.
All right,
Life goes on.
Life goes on, man. People come and go. Small people come and go. Tall people, they just don't know. Yeah.
Mhm.
You won't get
That's
that, but
deep.
Josh will. That's a movie quote. All right, let's take a look at their discography here, Eric. Let's get into the meat of things. Taking a quick tour throughout their discography, the band begins with the popular Legend EP, which does present symphonic black metal sounds, but as Josh and I discussed, it feels different from their follow-up, their debut album, In the Shadow of a Thousand Suns, and we really just couldn't like figure out why. You know, it was just kind of like a feeling from both of us. But while not hating the album, Josh did describe In the Shadow of a Thousand Suns as kind of flat black metal, while I called it more of a generic black metal album. Just kind of that deal of nothing really pops out to us, really. The band follows their debut up with the traditional black metal album, minus the full-time synth player, in the absence of light, or as me and Josh like to call it, in the absence of synth. A more cohesive transitional album, track to track, that at times had Josh and I wondering, where's the hooks? So with all those three albums there, Eric, first half of their discography, give us your thoughts on those three albums.
So for
Thunder.
me, Thunderbolt and Lightning.
I heard that one. Could you hear some on my end too? Because
Not
it
yet,
thundered
no.
a couple times. Okay.
So the EP and Shadow to me are similar enough. I'm going to kind of group them for what I'm going to say, at least. I think you're on the right track with what you and Josh were saying. They are, I don't want to use the word stereotype, but archetype. It's like archetype of what I think black metal should look like. But doing that, it doesn't give me a lot of hooks. It doesn't give me a lot of that, something that keeps me in it and just keeps me want to go, that song was really good. You know, we talked about earlier, Suspended by the Throat. Dun, da, da, dun, da, da. That hooked me so hard when I heard that, like the thunder. And it just I wanted to listen to it all over again. Let's do Doom again. Let's go. And I didn't really have that feeling with this. And then you get into the absence of synth. And I think it might, I don't know if this is guitar changing or something like that. You get a little bit different sound with it. Like we said,
Yeah,
we
I think
about
so, because you
changing.
start getting more changers. Yeah.
So I think from the last album, you get a different guitarist. And then the harsh vocals, and this has got to be a production thing because they kind of keep it here and then go forward with it. They all sound echoey. And I'm not really here for it 100% of the time. A little bit here and there might be okay. We'll talk about that later. But there is a good one.
Wow, that was close.
Yeah, that was probably on top of my hill. But
that's funny because now I can hear it. It's like it's echoing coming over to me. That's funny.
Awesome.
That is funny.
So let's see. That got it's echoey. See, yeah,
Yeah,
like the lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, the production of the storm. Turn the reverb up.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I've been in the studio this much in my life, so I don't know if they've turned the room size up too big and it's getting that kind of echoey sound going on. But I'm not here for the echoiness of the harsh vocals. It just gets to the point where it sounds overproduced. The next set of albums, very much so. We'll talk about that too. But several of the riffs in this, going back to the guitar, the changing there, it's like a heavy cover of Metallica at times. Like I took an old school Metallica riff and I wanted to make it like a little heavier,
Right.
and so that instead of singing along, we could scream along to it.
A little
And
black
that's
metal.
almost what I feel. Yeah, that's almost what I feel like what's going on, and it's,
Okay.
I mean, it's not awful. Don't get me wrong, because I do like me some Metallica, but I don't know if it's just the scale he's using, because if I remember right, it's a Lydian scale they use at Metallica quite often.
Okay.
Or if it's the just inspiration behind it. I don't know. But overall, they are slower and simpler sounding, which Metallica does have that kind of chug-a-lug, moving right along kind of sound after, they get rid of their thrashy roots. But that's another album for another day for that. But anyway, so.
Yeah, I think with the production deal, it becomes apparent. I think it's starting. I don't think he does Shadow of a Thousand Suns. I think it starts with Absence of Synth, where Ken starts helping on production, and I think it's becoming is when he first starts doing production by himself. Definitely on Accuser and Walk Beyond the Dark is when he's full-fledged. I'm doing the production and the mixing here. So that makes sense of what you're saying going forward. He's like, I need more echo on my vocals.
And I'm not here for it. It just, like I said, I don't know if it's just overproduction sound that I don't like about it, or if it's just not really fitting the rest of the music. Because if the rest of it had that echo to it, okay, cool. It kind of sounds almost live. Like, it's in a small room, it's echoing around, and I hear the drums here, and there, and it's just echoing back to me. That'd be one thing, but everything else is clean and crisp, especially in the next set. It kind of steps up a little bit production, in my opinion. There's just a little hint of nicer production.
Yeah.
And then the vocals continue to do what they do, and I don't know.
Yeah.
The echoiness of it. I can't.
Well, yeah. One thing I forgot to mention during the member change talk was, and it made me think of this when you said the changing of the guitar on In the Absence of Synth. And one thing that me and Josh both found funny was it seemed as the band progressed album by album, year by year, the more member changes there were, the more like European the names of these guys that he was getting to come into the band. And Josh made a good point. He's like, they're in Arizona, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, where is he finding these Europeans in Arizona? What are they doing there? But yeah, I was going to ask you too, because like going back to In the Shadow of a Thousand Suns with the whole, deal where he said it was, kind of flat black metal. And I was kind of saying, generic. We started kind of talking about a whole deal of like, well, in black metal genre, how do you really stand out? Because for me personally, of course, again, it's like I'm not a huge black metal, or death metal fan, but like I like, to me, it's just like 99% of that stuff all just sounds the same to me. So I'm sitting there and thinking, how do you really stand out in that genre? And that's where we started bringing up the whole deal of, we got to have hooks. Well, how do you really have hooks in a black metal band when, I don't know, man. It was just kind of interesting to me, but I didn't know if maybe you had any thoughts of how one does stand out in black metal.
Put weird echo on your voice.
Apparently so. Yeah. All right, well, let's.
Like I said, it kicks me the wrong way, and I don't like it.
Yeah, let's get to the second half of the discography here. 2012. 2012 brings a new album from the band, Becoming, which features more of a focus on the atmosphere of the album, with less traditional black metal feel. And I kind of wondered again if that was kind of a production choice of, okay, I want to, because, he's doing a lot of instrument work too. There's times where he's playing guitar live, So I'm wondering if he's trying to really lean into building the atmosphere, not just, all right, here's the riff and I'm going to throw some lyrics on it and then we're just going to call it a day. Then you have the follow-up Accuser, which to me really kind of came in chaotically from the beginning on that first song, but soon returns more to that sound found on its predecessor, with continued progression on the atmospheric sound. You mentioned too, live sound. I wondered when I was listening to Accuser, excuse me, if he was trying to go maybe for a little bit of a live sound, kind of not as harsh as Zayo's "The Fear Is What Keeps Us Here," because that's pretty harsh, but more just like a light touch of it, maybe. I don't know. It just kind of crossed my mind. I don't think so, but at times I was kind of like, well, maybe if they're really trying to go for that. And I couldn't find anything either about it. But of course, the other weird thing too is you can't really find a whole lot about Accuser out there. Like, you can't find anything on like lyric sites for any of the lyrics for that
Right.
album. It's not even mentioned. It's really weird. So
Like
I
some
was
of
kind
them
of
just don't
wondering,
even
like,
have the album at all.
yeah, I'm kind of like, wonder what's up with that. But I don't know.
What I was reading says the lyrics have not yet been released. I was going, what was that, 2014, 15? I think that's a little
See,
behind, buddy.
yeah, and that was another thing we talked about too. I mean, if you look at their lyrics a lot of times, it's really small. He doesn't have a whole lot of lyrics in songs. Sometimes he does, but a lot of times it seems to be just like maybe a paragraph, maybe a little bit less.
Right.
But I went back to Watchtower and Procession of the Eons on Legend EP, and the lyrics for that are just like one line on each song. And I told Josh, I said, I know there's more lyrics than that, and I don't understand why you didn't release that. So I don't know if there's some type of like he's like trying to be mysterious, or what. But anyway, carrying on here, their latest album, 2019's Walk Beyond the Dark, sees frontman and founding member Ken Sorceron Bergeron fully take control of writing all music and lyrics, along with full production work, with a few, session musicians hired to record. Erik, what do you make of these three newest albums? And in the end, is this a sustainable sound for the future of Abigail Williams?
As a whole, I kind of find them odd coming off the first three, especially after Absence. I could see it moving in this direction, but it still was kind of a surprise. They have now fully embraced the echoey vocal thing. Again, they have slowed the music down a little bit more. Like I said, working at that ambiance type sound versus the black metal. It's
Tradition.
fancy. Yeah.
Fancy. Pinky's up.
So let's see. It also softened quite a bit, in my humble opinion.
Okay.
I almost feel like a Western vibe, like, the good, bad, and the ugly or something going on at times in the guitar. There's just this little hint of it here and there. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but it almost sounds like a Westerny. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there is times where he's still trying to, not even just with the name of the band, but still trying to bring that American roots musically into.
And I don't hate that.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I'm two thumbs up, man.
I do want to point that out.
Yeah,
I definitely want to point that out. Just the fact that they've gotten a little softer too,
right,
with that, and then still trying to claim the black metal. I don't know if we're there.
Yeah.
But I don't hate that sound overall.
Well, and I just kind of wonder if that leans more towards the atmospheric black metal genre of. I don't really know all the details of that specific genre because it is a thing. I don't know if it's kind of a deal where it's like, you still get like the black metal roots, but it's like you're saying, it's kind of toned down, slowed down a little bit, maybe more focus on creating the full picture and just like, whatever. But because I feel like too on like, me personally, I think he did a good job sound wise on Walk Beyond the Dark. when I look at that album artwork and I'm like, yeah, I can hear that. I can see that going.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Like I
great.
said, not totally hating on it. Just it's a little
No,
bit of
no, yeah.
shock
Yes,
coming
yeah.
from one to the next, going,
Right.
wow, we
Yeah,
are gradually getting softer. We're slowing things down, just overall. And
for
then
sure. Yeah.
we jump into the Accuser, which, like you said, kind of starts out a little bit more traditional black
Mhm.
metal. Um, got some splashes of that low Zao garble going on in there.
Mhm.
Kind of enjoyed that, but they still got the echoey thing, and ah,
He's like,
anyway.
ah, the echo.
Well, I mean, it's one thing if you're listening to it in the car going down the road. Okay, cool,
For
that's
sure.
fine,
Yeah.
whatever. You got your headphones on though, and it's like I don't know what's going on, but I don't know. And it took me a couple albums to really figure out what was going on. And then I went back and listened to the others, and that's really when it hit me. I was like, oh, all this has been produced to have that echoey sound or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. So they did gain a little bit of speed back at times. Uh, at times, to me, this it's hard to describe, but almost the music sounds vintage. Like it's got an old school feel to it. It may be going back to, I don't know, the American roots again or something like
Maybe
that.
so. Yeah.
Like some older metal sounds, some older even hard rock sounds. Like, oh, maybe that's what it
Okay.
is. In the slower
Yeah.
bits here and there. That's kind of what I'm
Right.
hearing. Um, and then yet finally going into Walk Beyond here, I started to feel a bit formulated to me. Now I'm going to bash on this one a little bit. Because it did feel like there's like two basic formulas I was getting, and I know this is a way oversimplification because it's not 100%, but it's I was re-listening to it, this album, and I was going, I thought I listened to this song. Like, what's going on?
Copy
No,
paste. Copy paste.
yeah. So your two formulas start fast and hard, and then slowly taper off at the end of the song. And then the other one is kind of start a little softer, speed up into a crescendo, and then fall off the face of the earth towards the end. Those are typically your longer ones, seem to do that. And I was like, wait a second. Over half the album does this. What is.
He just flipped a coin. He's like, all right, this song's gonna be.
Like I said, I know that's a way oversimplification because not every song fits that. And even the ones that I put in my little categories that do that, it's like, not 100%, but it just started feeling that direction. And
Yeah.
understanding that he has taken over a lot of production, writing, everything else.
Oh, everything.
Kind of makes me wonder.
It is a dictatorship now, Eric.
Yeah, kind of makes me
It is
wonder
full
if
blown.
I don't want to bash on his skills or anything, or his style even. But if that's what he likes, that's his style.
Probably
And if
should.
that's what it
Yeah.
is, cool. But I don't have to like it. It's not mine.
I don't have to like it. I'm an American. I don't have to like it.
Freedom. Anyway,
Freedom, America.
so anyway, it did wear on me a little bit. The kind of formulation kind of feel.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good way to continue moving forward. The dictatorship, like you said, there's nowhere to bounce your ideas off of, and you're just throwing ideas out there in the dark and hoping for the best. And
anyone?
Yeah, that's kind of what he's doing. And I don't know. I'm afraid to say it's going to turn out like the Matty Mullins show, but it might be heading for the cliff.
Yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see because you'd have to think if you look at the discography timeline wise, we're about at that time where we're probably going to get a new album from him.
Right.
So it
Not
would be
going to be long, I'm sure.
see if he's really, really trying to lean into that even more. And if I had to predict, I think he is. I think he's set in his ways of, I want to do this atmospheric black metal with the echo vocals and my coin flip, formula or whatever. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens here in the near future with new music and such. Well, alrighty, Eric, we are at the end of our episode, and as always, I like to finish off with a little cherry on top. Your favorites, if you have any. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. Album, songs, lyrics, riffs, artwork. Maybe. Take it away, Eric.
Maybe I'll look at some artworks real quick. Giles Corey, that's got some cool artwork. Still got that pulled up.
I've got him playing in the background, so it's bringing up some old memories. I'm like, okay, yeah, I remember how this goes.
Ooh. As far as artworks go, it's actually all of it's pretty good, not gonna lie. I enjoy the artwork style. It's not like they got one style they're going to stick with. They kind of move across the board, and I like that.
Well, even the demos that never got released as an actual album, but like I think it was something about a fan bootlegged them or whatever, and they made album artwork for it. It was called Gallow Hill. You can look that up on Google. It looks pretty cool too.
Still pretty sick.
Yeah, I think it still looks pretty cool.
Man. I don't know. I'm stuck between Becoming and Walk Beyond the Dark. If I'm going off just the look, the kind of stained glass look of Becoming with what I can only assume is the historical person Abigail Williams.
Right. Yeah. I didn't think about that.
That's kind of sick.
That's true. I never really thought about that, Eric. I'm
welcome.
just a simple-minded man. This guy's deep over here.
What too deep? I'm sure. Overthinking it all. That's what I'm good at. But as far as favorite sound of an album, In the Shadow of a Thousand Suns.
It looks like a praying mantis. I'm sorry. It looks like a praying mantis. It's got like the hook arms. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
It's art, Curtis. It's avant-garde.
It's avant-garde.
You wouldn't understand.
It's supposed to represent Abigail Williams, man. That was her spirit insect.
Yes. So, yeah, I like Shadow of Thousand Suns. It's the best from them, in my opinion.
Okay.
And it has solely to do with those vocals. Not solely. I mean, you also do get your full-time synth, your keys person.
For Eric, it's due to the fact that there's no echoes on the vocals.
It feels more accurate to the rest of the song, to the rest of the stuff, versus what moving forward, it just sounds all out of place even. And overproduced. There's the word. I don't know if it's been overproduced or not, but it just feels overproduced.
Overthought. Too much.
We overthought it. Yes. There is a point in art, whether you're writing a story down, whether you're working on something, you think about it, you do it too much, and you ruin it. And I don't know if that's what he's done with his own voice.
What's the old Josh Goggin theory of I give myself 2 weeks in the recording studio, I get in and I get out and I don't think about it anymore, because if I keep continuing to think about it, I'm going to change stuff, and it could be for the good, but it could be for the worse. So yeah.
And I'm kind of wondering if he doesn't like the sound of his own harsh vocals or not, or something. I don't know, but he's got to make them sound different, make them sound woo or whatever. I don't know. I think that is what kills it for me. Past that point is the echoiness. I don't know.
I'm assuming he has his own recording, studio where, of course, it's 2024. I mean, a lot of people just record in their own bedroom, but I'm assuming he has his own little recording spot or whatever. But I feel like that's cool, but at the same time, it's a dangerous line to be walking when you do that, based off what you're saying is you could sit there for years recording one album thinking, it's not good enough yet. It's not good enough, But at the same time, it's like, well, I don't have a timeline, or I got to be out of the studio by such and such time because, it's my house. Well, am I going to kick myself out of my own house? So, yeah.
So yeah, that is why I go with that album. Is one, you get the full sound with the synth and everything, and then two, well, let me give you three. Two, I like the speed, kind of the technical aspect that's still there at that point with the guitar and everything. After that, you do start slowing down, moving towards more of the ambient black metal, and then three is the vocals. And that is the biggest one, honestly. Everything else is kind of a plus mark for me. But yeah, definitely the vocals are the big ticket for me. We were talking about that before we started recording, and I don't know if I made it clear on our last episode, but that's exactly what I was saying about the entry point for Coheed and Cambria. That's where I started liking his vocals. Is that spot, this area, his whether it matured or felt better or whatever. That's the spot. This one, in this case, he matured into a place I didn't like versus starting out.
Right.
But anyway, moving past that, let's get you some lyrics.
Give me some lyrics.
So this is from there it is. Beyond the Veil.
Ooh.
So this is all the lyrics that we're given. I'm just going to read the whole song to you. The whole half a paragraph.
Right.
And a dark wind blows. Empty vessels left scattered around the roads to nowhere. And as we move past the darkness, I cannot hear a sound. We've been trapped in the belly of a leviathan. But the beast is now bleeding out slowly into the cosmos. The darkness, the sadness, the sickness, the madness. Washed away in a magnificent storm. The earth was beautiful on fire, now purified. These are truly the last days of time.
Nice.
There's a lot of imagery that goes on here. And it definitely is some kind of like free form, lyrical
right
poetry rather than a lot of the stuff we were like, oh, it kind of sort of rhymes and it kind of sort of fits in the music. His stuff a lot of times is legitimate poetry just put to music,
Right. Yeah. I
definitely
agree.
give points for black metal and death metal in that category. If it's not just very plain stuff, they do a good job with lyrics a lot of times.
I agree.
So, you ready to get into some songs? Before
Let's
we get
do
to my
it.
top three, I do have a couple bonuses and
Honorable mentions.
points to talk about with my honorable mentions.
Oh,
I did include Beyond the Veil and Forever Kingdom of Dirt.
nice.
And this is getting into the echoey sound. But with these two songs, whether it be lyrically, whether it be kind of the overall arching feel of the song, it worked for them. But if you did that for these two songs and then moved away from that for the rest of the album, it would have more impact for me.
Okay.
So it's kind of like I know I don't think you guys much care for Avenged Sevenfold, but back in the day, I remember hearing. Now I've just lost it. Anyway, one of their songs back in the day during the like bridge chorus area, it used a little bit of auto-tune on his voice. And at the time, I was fully against auto-tune, 100% no, because all I had heard is, the pop singers using it throughout an entire song. It just felt so overproduced and so mechanical, and I hated it. But using it in just that little spot there and then moving away from it, going back to normal, I was like, I kind of like that. Using it as a device rather than a crutch.
Right.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Kind of like the we talked about 7-Year Winter earlier. If the electric drums were just at the end of that song, kind of the outro, I don't know what you call that. It's kind of artsy fartsy with the drums going on. If that's all it was, I think I'd be more okay with it. Since it's electric drum throughout the entirety, kind of less okay with it. It became more of a crutch than a tool. So there's my rant. I'm done ranting. So let's do number 3.
Number 3.
I went with The World Beyond. Ooh.
Ooh.
And I think, let's see, that's off of Shadows, right? That is number 2 off Shadows, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Then speaking of number 2, let's hit number 2.
Number 2
is Acolytes. The very next song off that, I like. It goes one into the next. It's pretty good. I enjoy that. Then,
nice.
Number 1, I suppose.
Number 1.
Smoke and Mirrors. Ooh. Which is also off that album. It turned out that these are the ones I saved right off this album, right off the bat. I like them the best. Moving forward from that, it's what I seem to like from them, from the style, from what I expected as well.
Yeah. See, we go with the OG. We both grew up on Legend. And yeah, it's just an EP, but there's just something about that EP for both of us, for me and Josh.
A little nostalgia sprinkled in there.
Classic. Such classics. Yeah. Cool. Alrighty. Well, final thoughts on the band known as Abigail Williams, Erik?
As a whole, I don't know if they're really for me. We've said before, I don't know that I'm the biggest black metal fan to begin with.
Right.
I might taste it now and again, kind of as a flavor saver kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just a little sip. Ooh, that was good.
Ooh, it was good. Pinky's up when you do.
Pinky's up. A little bit fancy.
Pinky!
Anyway, if you do like black metal, you haven't heard of them, give them a shot. Even if you don't like black metal, you can find yourself on the heavy end of metalcore, give black metal a shot. Who knows? You might like it.
Never know. Never know until you try.
Not my flavor of tea, but you drink your own tea.
You drink your own.
And I'll drink my
Alrighty. Let's get on out of here while he drinks his tea. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at @IsSurviveByPro for news and the latest episode postings. Not just on the show, but our other shows as well. We have the History of the Cores podcast, the pop-up of this very podcast right here, where me and Josh... Oh boy, I know what I'm saying to Josh when I first see him. Yeah, me and Josh in the History of the Cores podcast, we take a band from the core genre, or something like that, and we look at the history, the discography, the endless member changes, and exactly. And then we come back on this podcast and talk about it some more. We also have the Red Right Hand podcast, which has covered all 6 seasons of the BBC/Netflix hit show The Peaky Blinders, and soon the movie. And we also have the Throne of the Dragon podcast, which has covered season 1 and season 2 of HBO's House of the Dragon, and next summer season 1 of HBO's Knights of the Seven Kingdoms. And we'll be having some off-season episodes coming up here pretty soon also, so be on the lookout for that. Also, while you're on Twitter, make sure to follow my co-host at Joshua Lynn Gary, and make sure to leave us a 5-star review or ask a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. And if you want to listen to us and see our smiling faces, head on over, put a hole in your face, and on over to our YouTube page. Just search Is Survive By Productions. That'll have every episode from all of our shows. Subscribe to the channel. Thumbs up the video. Do it, people, before he pokes his eye out.
Yeah.
Alrighty, until the next episode, Erik, where we're going to talk about a little band known as Bury Your Dead. We'll see you.